I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
Recorded history has shown that many government leaders tend to sell the masses an official story that begins with and centers around the narrative of ensuring their safety and security by fighting the enemy. But what actually transpires is often the opposite. Rather than keeping the people safe, personal liberties are eroded, the common man is entangled in, maimed, or destroyed by the horrors of war, economies are destroyed, and an unspeakable accumulation of casualties and the deaths of individuals who were used as pawns expand the cash-filled coffers and power of the elite. The political leaders, some of whom serve as lapdogs for corporate interests, who swore to protect the people, wittingly or unwittingly, break their oath and lead the people on a path of war. War that becomes perpetual because the conflict is continually sold as the rationale for peace. So the irony is that in their pursuit of peace, the people clamor for war. Meanwhile, the masses are convinced through media manipulation and propaganda that they themselves need to support these rich men's wars in order to secure their own safety. And as long as there are profits in war, there will be little incentive for peace, because the masters who hatch the plans for war have seen to it that these profits flow away from the common people and into the pockets of the elite. No one in their right mind wants to go to war. People don't desire to send their sons and daughters off to the horrors of the battlefield to be slaughtered, so that those who already live large can live even more extravagant lifestyles. So the masses have to be mentally manipulated into buying wholeheartedly into the war concept. Hermann Göring opined at the Nuremberg trials on April 18, 1946, quote, "Why, of course the people don't want war. Why would some poor slob on a farm want to risk his life in a war when the best he can get out of it is to come back to his farm in one piece? Naturally the common people don't want war. Neither in Russia, nor in England, nor in America, nor for that matter in Germany. That is understood. But after all, it's the leaders of the country who determine the policy. And it's always a simple matter to drag the people along, whether it's a democracy or a fascist dictatorship or a parliament or a communist dictatorship. Voice or no voice, the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That's easy. All you have to do is tell them they're being attacked and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same in any country." End quote. Military operations use as a smokescreen the deceptive blanket of operating for the purpose of national security and fighting the enemy. That is the formula that's worked throughout the ages. So don't expect the mode of operations to change anytime soon. As long as mass manipulation tactics work, why search for a new formula? History's example of the U.S. government's betrayal of its own citizens included the clandestine 1962 military proposal called Operation Northwoods. Under Kennedy's Joint Chiefs of Staff and led by General Lemnitzer, the now declassified Northwoods operation was a top-secret confidential document with the subject line, "Justification for U.S. military intervention in Cuba," and whose, quote, "ultimate objective is overt military intervention." This document outlines the Joint Chiefs' intention to create the, quote, "pretext for military intervention in Cuba" that would, quote, "lead to a political decision that would in turn lead to military action," end quote. Military action equals leading the people into war. The bottom line is that the leaders desired to unleash the dogs of war and needed a catalyst by which the masses would be mentally manipulated into supporting their profit-making venture. If you question the concept that war is a profit-making scheme, I encourage you to read the booklet by retired United States Marine Corps Major General and 2-time Medal of Honor recipient Smedley Butler. In it, Butler frankly discusses from his experience as a career military officer how business interests commercially benefit from warfare. You'll read firsthand from someone who's been there that industrialists whose operations were subsidized by public funding were able to generate substantial profits from mass human suffering. I'll leave the link in the description below. And if you want detailed video proof of this monstrous Northwoods agenda by the military elite against the people of their own nation, click on this link right here for an eye-opening coverage of this unbelievable document. Northwoods enshrines the notion and intent of national betrayal and deception by the hands of the very men who swore to protect the people. Every American and those throughout the world who put a wholehearted trust in their leadership should see this video. As even Hitler has said, how fortunate for leaders that men do not think. In addition to Operation Northwoods, the Gulf of Tonkin and Pearl Harbor incidents are just a few other examples of the U.S. government's leadership being willing and able to create a pretext for war, manipulate the media, promote pro-war propaganda, garner the sympathy of the masses, and with the endorsement of the people, ruin the lives of men, women, and children throughout the world in the name of huge profits for corporate giants. But that was then. What about today? Surely things are different today. Isn't our government more trustworthy now? More accountable for its actions? More transparent than ever? While most people are oblivious to it, some are alarmed at a large-scale military operation being conducted in a few southwestern states slated for July 15th through September 15th. The operation is called JADE HELM 15 and will be conducted throughout Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Nevada, Utah, and Colorado. The concern is that this RMT, or realistic military exercise, is a precursor to the gradual introduction of martial law in the U.S. Whether you believe it is or isn't, let's take a look at some facts from the military's own published document. First, let's look at JADE HELM's chosen logo and slogan. The logo depicts two arrows intersecting a vertical sword. Obviously, the arrows and the sword are tools of war. In the center of the logo is what appears to be a transparent wooden shoe very similar to these right here. The wooden shoe is called a sabot, ironically the French root of our English word sabotage. It's derived from the Netherlands in the 15th century when workers would throw their sabots or wooden shoes into the wooden gears of the textile looms to break the cogs, fearing the automated machines would render the human workers obsolete. With the cogs now broken, the company had to depend completely on the efforts of the workers who sabotaged and destroyed the machinery. Remember, sabotage is a deliberate action aimed at weakening a country or corporation through subversion, obstruction, disruption, or destruction. One who engages in sabotage is a saboteur. Saboteurs typically try to conceal their identities or true intentions because of the consequences of their actions. Now ask yourself, why would our own military, which remember has a history of executing false flags, initiating wars, and jeopardizing the lives of its fellow citizens, use a symbol of sabotage in their logo as they work within the border of the U.S. conducting training exercises? The logo, combined with the chosen operational slogan, quote, "Master the human domain," should be enough to at least keep people on their toes as this exercise is conducted on American soil. Is this the human domain they intend to master? JADE HELM is said to be acting as part of a, quote, national security strategy that implies it's to prepare our soldiers to, quote, fight the enemies of the U.S. and, quote, to work with civilians to gain their trust and an understanding of the issues. So they want you to know that they're training to keep you safe from the enemy, and they want you to trust them. For them, this is all about providing safety and building trust. Maybe if he was still alive, Benjamin Franklin would warn us, "They that give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." With over 250 million deaths under their belts in the last century alone, how much trust should we have in governments to secure our safety? Is there any harm in not trusting them? Regardless of what the JADE HELM document says, history tells us that releases like these from governments can be reasonably considered unreliable for helping to discern what they're really up to. More often than not, if it says one thing, it's a safe bet to believe and look for the opposite. If anything else, special forces acting in uniform and incognito on the streets of American cities conducting realistic military training exercises serves to acclimate the people of this country to a constant military presence. And just as incrementally increasing the heat of a pot of water in which a frog is comfortably lounging will eventually and effectively destroy the frog, any acclimation process, when implemented gradually, will more readily be embraced by and destroy the masses. Hitler knew this and successfully implemented it. The best way to take control over a people and control them utterly, he wrote, is to take a little of their freedom at a time. to erode rights by 1,000 tiny, almost imperceptible reductions. In this way, the people will not see those rights and freedoms being removed until past the point at which changes cannot be reversed." End quote. So whether Jade Helm is a military takeover of the U.S. or not, it can at least be viewed as one of those imperceptible reductions that the American people with a critical eye should not allow, lest they one day wake up with their families in a boxcar headed for the cremation chambers. If you enjoyed this video and you think others could benefit by viewing it, click that like button and share it on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to see more videos like this, as well as a mix of other content, give that subscribe button a click. For more information and additional content, let's connect on Facebook at facebook.com/highimpactflicks and reach out to me on Twitter at highimpactflicks. Until next time, remember, it's easier to deceive the masses than to convince them that they've been deceived.